Welcome inside the Broncos podcast studio for another episode of Altitude Advantage. I'm your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez. Across the table, we have our lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla. Happy New Year, Broncos country. This is the first episode of 2026, and we're here to break down the upcoming matchup versus the Los Angeles Chargers, the regular season finale, where we are expected to see Trey Lance get the call as a starter for the Chargers, and obviously Bo Nix coming in for a chance at the number one seed in the AFC. So much to get to in this episode. Some comments, really breaking down the matchup, some keys to the game, all that good stuff. But first, to start with just saying Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Elisa. Excited to be getting going another year of Altitude Advantage. And it was a fun last year. We saw a lot of firsts in 2024. Maybe not first, but first things in a while, right? The first playoff game, and then the Broncos in 2025 to start this regular season have started 13-3. It's their best start in more than a decade. Have a chance to set the best home record, best division record, tie the most wins in franchise history. So it was a good year to be a Broncos fan. I think you saw your franchise quarterback take a step forward. I think you've seen some guys. Pat Surtain gets recognized as Defensive Player of the Year earlier this year, or last year now. And then you see guys like Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, Cortland Sutton, Garrett Bowles, all these different guys get recognized. Home field advantage. The Broncos have lost just once the last calendar year, which is pretty impressive at home, and are in position to earn the number one seed. So it was a good year for Broncos country, and it should be hopefully an even better year in 2026 if the Broncos can make a special run to end this regular season.
You know, every time a new year comes, people talk about New Year resolutions and all these things. I think for the Broncos, how much they've grown from one season to the next, obviously we don't know what each of their resolutions were, but I think just seeing them really buy into everything that's happened here, the culture change, the mindset. Obviously, the Broncos win the AFC West for the first time since 2015. The way they've just internalized how happy they are about that, and they've obviously acknowledged how big of an accomplishment is that, but they're so focused on the bigger picture, and that's a focus that's come from training camp. So it's really good to kind of see them continue to have that focus, regardless of who the opponent is, regardless of what the record is. They are locked in to what they want to accomplish. And the first of the three goals was accomplished after week 17 with the Broncos winning on the road in Kansas City and the Chargers falling to the Houston Texans. They clinched that AFC West title. And I think for Broncos fans, it's something, I think for me personally, you know, you almost want like the whole theatrics of like the hats and everything on the field and Broncos country, but I'm also like, I also am happy that that's taken care of, and now, you know, we look to the next goal.
Yeah, no, I think that was, even though it happened in kind of a non-traditional way with clinching on a Saturday, that's got to be right up there with the highlights of 2025. And I think, like, you just think back, and whether it's the playoff game in Buffalo, I know that obviously doesn't end the way you want, but like that first play in Buffalo, or first series, Bo Nix to Troy Franklin, the anticipation leading up to that game, that's a highlight. You know, I think the Broncos announced plans for a preferred stadium site. Like, that's a highlight of 2025. You just look at the schedule, and whether it's the win in Philadelphia, you know, the comeback against the Giants, beating the Chiefs at home to really solidify that division lead, which at that point was everybody was right there. And I think that Packers game too, just how loud it was, and we'll talk about that later. But those to me stand out as some of the highlights of 2025, and I'm sure you could find a bunch more, whether it's, you know, the teams, what they've done in the community, and you know, the training facility is getting to a point where it's getting closer and closer every day. I know somebody posted a picture the other day on Twitter of like, here's what the hillside looked like on December 31st, 2024 versus yesterday, December 31st, 2025, and just all the progress there. From a uniform standpoint, more throwback games, got the all-white uniform. It was a fun year with lots of highlights. I don't know if anything – what stands out to you as a highlight from this past season?
You know, I think it has to be that Giants game. I think just the emotional day that was, having Demaryius Thomas inducted into the Ring of Fame, his family here, halftime having Super Bowl 50, be on the field and being honored. And then for them to come back in such a miraculous way. And we've talked about the numbers of Court being close to a certain number. And when he caught the ball, it's like little nuances that really tied back to DT were really special in that game. And I mean, to be here for that. And then I remember just sitting in the press box. And sometimes I think when you're covering the game, when you're the lead writer or the team reporter, you're locked into more of the logistics. Okay, I have to go down at this time. Locker room's going to start. Who am I going to talk to and all those things? But that was the game that I really stopped my brain from doing that and was like, let me enjoy how magical this win is. And, obviously seeing Broncos country celebrate, being in the press box, obviously we don't cheer. We kind of just do a little fist bump on the side and then keep it going. But just knowing I got to witness that, and as Broncos country now, I grew up a Broncos fan. So for me, it was very special to just kind of be there. And just, I think that was a game that really brought this team together. And we've seen constant reminders of the 2015 team, from whether it's stats or certain connections that they have, but that really tied it all together for me. So that was definitely a favorite, a highlight for me from last season at Broncos country. Make sure you guys comment your highlights from 2025. You can comment below if you're watching on our YouTube channel. If you're not, if you're listening, just go to YouTube and then leave your comment right there, and we can read it next time. But I think that was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out there, and one to talk about is that just honoring the 2015 team, and Demaryius in particular. Obviously, we talked a lot when he was going into the Ring of Fame earlier this year about the type of guy he was. But I think to be able to do that and have the Super Bowl 50 guys back as you're in the midst of this special season, and I think even then, you come back and win that game to get to, 6-2? 5-2, excuse me, at that time. And it's I think at that point you don't even realize kind of what you're in the middle of. And so, I mean, at that point, I think we were talking about comps to Super Bowl 50 and some of the comebacks, and we were like, oh, it's a little too early for that. And now you're this late in the season, and you've got the most comeback wins in NFL history in a single season, and you've got 11 one-score wins, which I believe is tied for the most in NFL history in a single season. Hopefully we can avoid setting the record this week. I'd like a little bit more, maybe take a deep breath there so I can finish up my story a little earlier in the press box. But we'll take a win regardless of how it looks on Sunday against the Chargers. But yeah, I just think that there's and we often hear guys say the time for reflection comes later, but it's been a fun year with heightened expectations for sure, and then to see the team live up to that has been really exciting. So a good year. Let's have an even better one in 2026, and appreciate everybody joining us for this past year as we're still building the show, Yeah,
I agree. We appreciate all of you guys. And I think the other aspect of this is in 2026 comes new gear. We have new gear.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No. I love new gear.
So
just fresh off the press.
I believe every year there's a year of something, right?
Oh.
Did you know this?
I don't know what the year is.
I'm about to blow your mind. I believe it's the the Chinese zodiac sign.
Yes.
There's a different animal every year.
Do you know yours, when you were born?
I have no idea.
You know what mine was?
What?
Year of the horse.
So 2026 is the year of the horse. So
I was gonna say something else, but I'm gonna just say wow.
So, who knows what that and apparently this some of the Google results say the fire horse. I don't even know that. Maybe that seems even more intense.
That reminds me of the horse from the airport
with an orange mane, perhaps. But if you believe in good omens and signs and all that sort of thing, year of the horse being 2026, that could be a good omen for the Broncos as we move forward. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, I love that. Way to drop some knowledge.
I would have thought you would have known that.
I didn't know that was this year. I know it rotates the different animals. I know when I was born, I was the year of the horse, which is, I'm obsessed with horses. So Imagine if it was like You're the Rat. That would be weird.
Okay, well, I'm about to look what mine is. So hopefully, you didn't just blast me there. Oh, You're the Dog for me.
Oh,
That's nice.
That checks out.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Ike, our friend Ike, who does some of the highlights. He was born, 2009?
Oh, God.
Just kidding. He's older than that. Yeah, this is fun. There's some. Yeah.
Year of the Dog.
So we've got a dog, pig, rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster.
All right. What was 2000?
If this is accurate, which sure,
We're gonna go with yeah.
2000 was the dragon.
Ooh. Do you know who was born in 2000?
Bonix.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm saying.
I like
I'm
it.
saying fiery
Dragon.
horse, dragon. I'm just saying.
Well, there was the clip, of course, that went viral about from Thursday Night Football about Bo and the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with my quarterback being the Year of the Dragon.
Yeah.
More than
The Year of the Dog.
Year of the Dog. So Dragon's fine with me. It's fine with me.
Those that fire on the field. Well, no, again, new gear.
The merch.
We
Sorry.
love that.
Yeah.
We do love the merch, but that was fun.
Let me show this off.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's and as you guys know, it is Throwback Week. The Broncos will be in their throwback uniforms. Once again, to finish off the regular season, you have to talk for the camera to go on you.
Well, I was waiting for you to stop.
I will never stop
I was
talking.
letting you finish. Yeah, if you see this anti-social social club, the little Bronco helmet, and then on the back,
Ooh.
the big logo there with the anti-social social club. Nice collab. So you can get that in the team store allegedly.
That's right. You can get it in the team story. It is the item of the game in Broncos country. We're very excited to have you guys back at Empower Field at Mile High. So you guys can go there for the game, get your sweater. I don't know if it's going to be like super cold or what kind, but you know what?
It's supposed to be nice out.
A good hoodie is always good to have.
This is a large that I have over here. It's a nice quality sweatshirt. It's soft on the inside. Yeah.
So nice. You can't even put it on. Right?
Well, I don't want to.
So nice.
I don't want to ruin it. You know what would be nice is if our friend who gave us these, maybe we could convince him to letting us give one away on the podcast.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah.
We could just do it and tell him.
This is. What do you guys think, Broncos country? Should we do that? Yes. And last thing about the item of the game, there's actually two designs of it. One has a throwback logo and one has the original logo on it. So you guys can go ahead and check that out in the team store. Once again, that is the item of the game for the antisocial social club. Are you in any antisocial social clubs?
No, I'm just in a social club.
Well, you are the Year of the Dog, so you're friendly to everybody.
Antisocial social club. It's kind of obviously a little bit of a oxymoron, but it's kind of a well-known brand, I would say.
Yes, it is. Definitely is. And again, what we appreciate Broncos country getting to the stadium early, going to the team store, doing all that good stuff. But Sunday is going to be a fun game. Why? Because it is a divisional matchup. The Broncos have been playing very well against their division this year. They have 4 wins, I believe. 4 wins against division rivals, which is the most by the club since 2015. And as you mentioned earlier, the Broncos have 7 wins at home. And I spoke to DJ Jones about that, and I asked him, like, you guys have been very successful at home. What has allowed you guys to be like that? And without hesitation, he's like, the fans. He's like, first things first, it's the fans. He's like, the way that they hype us up, the way that they're loud when the opposing team is in their huddle, like the way they've really bought into just even the card stunt at the beginning of the game, like the players notice that. And Talanoa Hufanga talked about it. Obviously, DJ Jones mentioned it to me, but the fan base here really has been galvanized. I mean, they've been the best, but this year in particular, they've really stepped it up a notch, and the players really feed into that. And I think with this matchup, this divisional game coming in, regardless of who's on the field, I think is going to be a huge one. I know Broncos country can't wait, and I know they've talked about it online. So Let's check the pulse of Broncos country.
Yeah, if you want to be featured on this show, in which you could potentially win a sweatshirt, maybe, then go to the Broncos official YouTube page and leave a comment, and we'll read it here on the air. This is from our Monday podcast when we talked about winning the AFC West champions. Rocky Suds says we need to approach this game like every other game. We can't fall for the trap with the Chargers sitting starters. It's kind of a Chargers sitting starters. Chargers, yeah. Say that 3 times fast.
I like how you just stopped after 2.
Couldn't even get there. Super proud of the Broncos on how far they've come along. But like Coach said, the job isn't finished. We need that bye week to rest and have the home field advantage. SB 60 goes through Denver. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's obviously the focus this week is how valuable that number 1 seed can be. Doms J, 1992. Please hold.
Are you going to check?
1992. Well, yeah. You're the monkey.
Aw.
It's exciting. That's cute. Got a nice little cute logo there.
A little troublemaker, maybe.
Ooh.
Well, I guess it depends what his comment says.
It's a symbol of cleverness, versatility, and innovation. People born in the year of the monkey are usually smart, quick-witted, and versatile.
Well, see, now I need more details on the horse and the dog. What is that?
The horse? Horse is known for being enthusiastic, independent, and adventurous.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's pretty much me.
That's nice. And then what did we say? The other one? Dog?
Yeah, it's yours. Ooh, I'm going to say dragon.
People born in dog years are considered trustworthy and reliable friends. That's all it has for me. Working hard and their strong work ethic and looking out for their loved ones.
Aww.
Nice.
That's true because you remember every stat and every, it's your attention to detail. It's pretty on brand.
And then the dragon, symbolizing strength, good fortune, authority, and success.
Ooh.
It's the only legendary animal in the 12-year cycle.
Okay. Why not be legendary?
Yeah, that's true. I have thoughts on horoscopes in general and just how they can they're like, oh yeah, of course that applies to me, but not really.
For the sake of the pod, these all apply.
Not really relevant. Yeah. Okay, Doms, who was You're the monkey. Yep. Yes. Now we're back on track. AFC West champs once again after a long 10 years of no dominance in the West until this year. I was 23 the last time we won the West. Now 33 feels great. Do you think that Doms means like he's feeling great at 33 or like winning the West feels great? Because you and I have been in our 20s and then no longer in our 20s. And, you sleep the wrong way now and the neck doesn't work for 4 days. Very so I'd be interested to know if Doms is feeling great physically as well. I hope so. I hope their early 30s are treating them well. 33, still early 30s.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes like if I get my coffee and I just look like it's a weird color, I'm like, this is going to be nasty. Like I just like, just certain things. You get to a certain age, you're like, I can sense it. I don't know why. You have that. You have that superpower, don't you? Where you just see something, you're just kind of like.
So we'll talk off camera. Then we have from the seed up. Okay, let's get this ring and watch how the city hits different after a championship. It was a couple weeks ago that Cortland Sutton mentioned that the Avs and Nuggets have basically upheld their end of the bargain in recent years, won championships, and he was like, it's our turn to bring that celebration to Denver. That would be awesome. And again, we'll get to it, but the reason why the 1 seed is so important is because of how it helps you chase that championship. So
yeah,
we will get to that.
So much to get to in this.
Yeah, we just spent most of it talking about dragons. Mile High Vaughn says, you think it's Vaughn? Could be. Broncos fan from Richmond, Virginia. Love the show. Oh. Vaughn currently plays for the Commanders, so maybe. And Richmond's only a couple hours from D.C. Let's see. Mile High Dutchy. Every time a backup player gets to play, that is a job interview, a presentation to show he is capable in playing bigger roles. That is one reason to not underestimate those players. It's a good point about the Chargers playing some reserve players. Don't really. We'll get to that too. A lot of things to get to. It's kind of like that's called a tease in the business. The Fish 2372.
The Fish.
Not to
be confused with
Fishy
a
Fam.
fish. I was going to say a fish.
Fishy Fam is on the way. The Fish says, I can't wait for my first Broncos game. I'll be there loud and proud for Broncos country. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, The Fish. Was there a year of The Fish? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Tough. Sean Payton wants it to be loud at the game on Sunday, and we've heard repeatedly now, it is not just about being loud at the line of scrimmage. Got to be loud while the team is in the huddle. And I think that's particularly true this week when you've got a quarterback who is a young, still, I know he got drafted back in 21, but he still hasn't made a ton of starts. And so any way you can make this player uncomfortable by being loud when they're in the huddle, maybe there's a miscommunication, those sorts of things, that's going to be critical. So be loud. This is like a playoff game. So I know though maybe there's a segment of Broncos country that's like, oh, we got this. They're playing their backups. You got to win this game. And so need a great atmosphere on Sunday. We'll talk about that as we get into the home field advantage discussion. Ready, set, hut 1, hut 2. How was that? Says, great discussion as always. Love this pod. Orange heart, blue heart.
Very sweet.
Fishy Fam in the building. Let's freaking go. DBFL, AFC division champs. Now let's lock up the 1 seed, make a deep playoff push, and go won't another Super Bowl. I assume that means win another Super Bowl. But Fishy Fam, excited? No time for a spell check at a time like this. Plus, maybe there's no spell check in the ocean. Maybe the flippers can't hit the spell check.
There's other things to worry about. Didn't spell correctly.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for you to admit as a writer, but.
I don't know that I agree with that, but spelling and grammar keep the world together. Deborah Paget says, I think if they would have had to play and win a game in order to get the West, then it would have been celebrated more, but the 1 seed is the bigger picture, and of course the SB. I think it's true. And that's kind of what you said, right? That it was just kind of like that's something that happened along the way. And, I think that there's people talk about, hey, the Chargers are resting starters and how that's an advantage for the Broncos. The Broncos made their own luck here, as I said on Monday. Mm-hmm. If you don't clinch the division before this week, now you're going into this game where, you could still win the 1 seed if you get a win, but there's also a chance you could have fallen all the way to the 5 or 6 seed. And so by clinching the division earlier, you've now put the Chargers in a place where your route to get to the 1 seed is much, I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's probably more advantageous for you. And so you built this luck by taking care of business. So it's kind of nice that the AFC West got clinched last weekend. Still a few more comments. We've got some good engagement here from the fans. They probably want that sweatshirt. Bill Bell, your best chance is always your next chance until the next chance after that. Bars. Your best chance is always your next chance until the next chance after that. Okay. I don't think there's any way you could disagree with that. That's true.
Yeah.
Right? If you're fact checking that, that's true.
It's like saying at the end of the day ends.
That's true. Or what did Pat Surtain say? We didn't come this far just to come this far.
Yeah. Bars.
Yeah, that was
bars.
That was good. And Bill goes on to say, before the season, I predicted 13-4 or 14-3. Looks like I was right. Yeah.
We'll give you that.
Talk your junk, Bill. It's about time they got this ship back on course to Lombardi land. That's an exciting place to go for sure.
Sailors, they follow the stars, not other ships. I learned that off my iced tea.
It is. It is time to start a new streak winning the West and the SB. When Elway was here and while Manning was here, they packed multiple back-to-back division titles, 3 Super Bowl victories, 2 back-to-back ones. It's a good comment when there's a read more, Bill goes on to say, the beloved Broncos have gone from worst to first. Cool. Still feels the same as 2015.
Cool.
Fishy fam jumping back in. You can't afford to look past any team on any given week. Starters or backups don't matter. These are all NFL professionals playing to show their coach they deserve more playing time or to show another team they can be a starter. Broncos have to come out and take care of business and get a win this week. Let's go Broncos. Deborah back again. Thanks, Deb, if I can call you that. Every Bo Nix hater needs to watch the Elway documentary. That's have you watched? You haven't watched yet. That's okay. Maybe if the Broncos get a bye week, have some time to watch.
Exactly, I'll have time to watch.
I watched it.
You went to the premiere.
That's true. I did not watch it there, but I have since watched it.
Okay.
And it's good. I think there's some couple interesting stories I hadn't heard before. A good look at John Elway's life and his impact on this city, and some cool old footage. So I think if you're a Broncos fan, there's some things that you'll be like, yeah, of course I remember this. I remember the helicopter. I remember what it was like when the Broncos traded for John Elway. But it's still cool to go back and look at it. And even John said recently that it was fun for him to do it because he got to go back and remember the old times. And it's definitely worth it. So go check it out. It's Elway on Netflix if you want to go check that out.
Nice little plug there.
And those are our comments.
If you are still listening 27 minutes in, we appreciate you guys because we have a lot more to get to on the show. And a big part of that, which a lot of the comments did mention, was going after that number 1 seed in the AFC. And there's obviously a really easy scenario. Well, as you mentioned, I don't know easy, but more likely scenario versus others. But let's break it down. What are the Week 18 scenarios for that number 1 seed for the Broncos?
It's about as simple as it gets this week. If the Broncos win, they are the number 1 seed in the AFC. They control their own destiny. If they take care of business at home against the Chargers in what is a de facto playoff game for Denver, they will clinch the number 1 seed. They will clinch the lone first-round bye. They will clinch home field advantage. And that would mean so much for the Broncos as they attempt to make a run to the Super Bowl. There are a couple of other options. If the Broncos were to tie, a New England tie or loss would also clinch the 1 seed. Or if the Broncos were to lose this weekend, they would need the Patriots to lose and the Jags to either lose or tie their game. New England will host the Dolphins, and Jacksonville is playing Tennessee at home as well. So in all likelihood, you probably need to take care of your own business, and that will put you in a great spot for the postseason.
Looking at that postseason, a lot of the guys were asking in the locker room, yes, we know you want to get the number 1 seed, but what about the number 1 seed? Like, what is the most exciting part? And all of them really mentioned that bye week for multiple reasons. One, getting back healthy, getting key guys. But the other part is, like, it's the easiest route to Super Bowl 60. I mean, and head coach Sean Payton mentioned it, you're eliminating a possibility of losing a game early because you're just taking yourself out completely from that scenario. And we've seen how the wild card goes. There's the reason it's called the wild card, because wild things happen, crazy plays, big plays, and sometimes a team that you necessarily didn't think was going to come out on top, whether they're on the road or they're playing a higher seed, they do. And so that first round bye is really crucial because then after that, you just have 2 games to play at home before you're able to go to the Super Bowl. And I think the fact of having home field advantage up until Super Bowl is huge, especially the way that Broncos country has been showing up, in particular this year, how loud it's been, the changes to the stadium and to get the crowd loud. I think it's really key. Adam Troutman had mentioned it before. We want to pull teams here because with the long drives that we've been able to sustain over the last few weeks, you've mentioned it on the pod multiple times, we're exhausting teams. And to do that above sea level is definitely an advantage. And I know that that's definitely a benefit that all the guys are looking forward to, especially when you've worked this hard to battle through the season, go on these winning streaks, bounce back after that Jaguars game to go on the road to Arrowhead and get a crucial win there. They're so locked in, not just to say we're the number 1 seed, but for all the implications that brings.
Yeah, I think that there's a number of benefits, right? And like you mentioned, the bye is one of them for 2 reasons. One is you can get healthy, and we'll see what happens with some of these guys who are on IR or, Dre Greenlaw doesn't practice for the second time this week after getting hurt at the end of that Jacksonville game. Like, does that increase the odds that he's able to go? We'll see what happens with all those things. But you also have one fewer game where guys can suffer injuries, right? Because you're not playing in that wild card game. So at this time of year, part of it is who do you have available and who is able to go and who's around for that stretch run. And, I think back to like 2013, for example, there are, several things kind of went wrong in that Super Bowl, but part of it, Broncos were just really banged up, especially defensively. And so you want to be one of those teams that has their guys down the stretch. And so that bye week is really important from that standpoint, from a rest perspective. Then there's the element of, like you said, avoiding one of these games, which you don't want to call them coin flips, but as Sean Payton has said, any week you cannot be at your best. Another team can play above their level, and you can get knocked out. And it's one of the beautiful things about the NFL playoffs and why the ratings are so tremendously high and why people love it so much is that anything can happen. And it's even more so than like the college football playoff where some of these matchups, one team is just going to be so much more talented than the other that, you saw it a couple weeks ago with some of these group of 5 teams going to play an Oregon, for example, right? It's like, it's different in the NFL. Everyone has talent. Everyone has the ability to beat other teams. And you see crazy things happen in playoff games, whether it's miraculous catches or crazy turnovers or one quarterback just plays at an insanely high level one week. And
onside kick that just bounces the right way.
Bounces and, just heartbreaking back and forth. A lot of things can happen in these games that are it's, again, why we love the sport, but it makes it, if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, it's part of what makes it so difficult.
You did mention, I want to interject really quick, that you said something, and it literally has stuck with me. We're like, it's not who you play, it's when you play them.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of this because there's a thing that of teams surging at the right time that maybe weren't surging early on in the season. I mean, look how Houston started and look how they're finishing and the way that they're surging. So that's a really big part of it too, because it's not necessarily about the matchup or the record of who you're playing. It's when you play them and the moment that you're at, as you mentioned, whether you're banged up or you're struggling at a certain point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you eliminate one of those games, it makes it, I don't want to say like so much easier, but it takes out the randomness and having to go just bat. Every playoff game for the most part is a grind. And so it removes you from having to go through one of those 3-hour battles. So that's really important. And then the third element, and maybe the most important if you listen to Broncos players and Sean Payton talk about it, is that home field advantage that you mentioned. And Sean Payton said there's basically 4 stadiums in the NFL. He kind of alluded to the Saints' home stadium being in a dome as being one of them. But he was like, there's basically 4 places or so where it can be deafening, where if you're an opposing offense, you just cannot hear, and it makes a true impact on the game. And he said basically starting with that game against the Packers and then last home game against Jacksonville, you heard Rick Lewis on KOA say, this is the loudest I've ever heard the stadium. And when you have that ability to impact the game, that is really significant. And then, like you said, to only have to win, and I say only kind of in the context of the other possible paths,
right,
like a team that finishes in the 7 seed, you're going to have to go on the road 3 straight weeks and win a playoff game to get to the Super Bowl. So the comparison there is if you're the 1 seed, you have to win 2 home games to make it to the Super Bowl. And that is as favorable a path as you can find. And when you look at the Broncos' home record, they've lost just 1 home game since, October of last year. They'd won 11 in a row, 12 in a row. I think it was 12 in a row before that streak snapped against Jacksonville. That speaks to, I believe the home win streak was 1 game longer than the active win streak, but that speaks to how difficult it is to come in and play here and how much it matters, and that if you're in the postseason and you're playing one of these teams, and we'll talk about New England or Jacksonville just because they're kind of like the other two top three seeds right now. If you can get them at home versus on the road, that could be the difference. And Sean Payton talks about how hard it is to win road playoff games and how difficult it is to go into someone else's building and win in the postseason. That's true. And I think we mentioned it Monday maybe. It's almost become more of an advantage to get the 1 seed since 2020 when it went to 7 teams, because now only one team gets that bye. Only one team gets that advantage. And 5 out of 10 1 seeds since 2020 have made the Super Bowl, and only 5 of the other 60 playoff teams have gone on to meet them. So you're talking about a 50% chance versus, I think an 8% chance, or right around an 8% chance. That's significant. And the Broncos can earn that advantage. And like we said Monday, if you're the 1 seed, you're probably a good team as well, like the Broncos are. And so that means you're probably more likely to move forward. But I was reading something. I don't think a wild card team has won a road game in the last couple of years. I was trying to see where I don't know if that was in our notes packet or where I
might have been in the capsules.
Saw that. Yeah, was that where it was? There was something about it's been rare since the playoff change for a wild card to even win a playoff game, and I don't know that it's happened in the last couple of years. So,
while you're tracking that down really quick, the Broncos have been the number 1 seed 8 times in franchise history. They've made the Super Bowl in 6 of those previous 8 seasons as the number 1 seed. And with a win, Denver would also tie the franchise record for most wins in a season. That's dating back to 1998 when they had 14 wins. Steve was on that team. He actually mentioned that on Broncos HQ. A new episode is dropping on YouTube. So make sure you guys check into that. But again, I think it all goes back to what we're talking about, when you're taking care and you're handling business and you're taking it one game at a time, it all stacks up and you naturally meet all of these accomplishments, all these storylines, all these firsts, all of these ties back to Super Bowl teams, because this is what Super Bowl caliber teams do, and I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah. So, and to reference that stat, since 2020, only 2 AFC wildcard teams have won a playoff game. The Ravens in 2020 and the Browns in 2020 both won playoff games. And you could argue that was different because that was a COVID year without fans. So the true home field advantage did not necessarily exist. No AFC wildcard team has won a playoff game in any of the last 4 seasons. So, I mean, that just shows you kind of the benefit of what the Broncos have done by, one, winning a home play or guaranteeing at least one home playoff game. And then if you win this weekend, guaranteeing a home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So if that wasn't evident before, that's quite clear now of how important that is. And I think it starts, Elisa, by not worrying about who the Chargers are playing, who's starting, who's not starting. I mean, if you look at their injury report from yesterday, there's a long list of guys that didn't practice, and maybe that's a sign that they won't play this weekend. But in my mind, you've got to get ready as if this is one of the toughest opponents you'll face this year, because in all honesty, the Chargers, since Jim Harbaugh has gotten there, they're 3-0 against the Broncos. Sean Payton mentioned on Wednesday that the Broncos have not played well offensively, coached well offensively against Jesse Minter-led defense. And they've got to be ready to go to win this game no matter who plays.
Yeah, and Pat Surtain II alluded to that in his press conference yesterday because him and Trey Lance came in, as you mentioned, in that same draft class. And he said, quote, Trey, he's very capable. He was in my draft class. As a matter of fact, he's a first-round pick, all the intangibles, all the tools to succeed. So we definitely cannot take this game lightly. It's a divisional opponent. That focus is really important. And you mentioned it. By the Broncos handling business, they put the Chargers in a position where they made the decision to say, hey, we're not going to start Justin Herbert because we have to potentially get ready for a road playoff game, or we have to get ready for the wild card, and we can't really risk that, for this game right now. A lot of teams across the league are doing that. I think I saw a report earlier that Jordan Love might not play despite him being cleared from concussion protocol this week. So teams are making, chess move decisions for the long term of okay, well, can we maybe trust our backups to do this game because we have to focus on, as you mentioned, how hard it is to win on the road, especially in the playoffs. So, Denver's defense is expected to face backup QB Trey Lance on Sunday. This will be Lance's first start since Week 18 in 2024. And as a starter, they gave us some stats on him. He averages 212.3 passing yards and 50 rush yards per game. And I think that's key because, the Broncos have to be ready for when there's not a lot of tape on guys. You have to be ready for the unexpected. And if he decides to run on you, if he decides to, show off his passing, he was a former first-round pick. Like, the talent is there. And I think the Broncos are in a position where, yes, teams are potentially going to rest more key guys. We're not sure who for the Chargers just yet. But you for sure know you're not facing Justin Herbert. But as most of the guys in the locker room said, that doesn't matter. Trey Lance is under Justin Herbert. You don't think he's been watching him every practice, watching him every game, learning from him? He's going to take the tools, and I know I'm assuming and pretty strongly that Justin Herbert is going to help Trey Lance prepare for this matchup as much as possible.
Yeah, and Trey Lance obviously has bounced around a couple places, but he had the talent to be drafted in the top 5. And I think a couple guys in the locker room mentioned maybe you see more design runs now than you would with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert more of kind of a scramble type quarterback when he gets loose in the pocket, but maybe you see a little bit more design runs. And listen, one of the things that impressed me, maybe I'll get to that in a second, but you've got to contain Trey Lance, and you can't let him hit you for those big plays. And I think one of the things we saw against Kansas City was that when you made Kansas City go the length of the field, they struggled. And really it was just like when they scored, it was off the interception, it was off the punt return, and it was off a pass interference call that I think was questionable at best. If you can make this Chargers offense have to go the length of the field, I feel like you'll be in a good spot. And I'll kind of save the rest of that for just a second. But in terms of who may or may not play, just some starters that they have listed on their injury report: Bradley Bozeman, starting center; Justin Herbert, obviously; Tui Pelotu, who is in the top 5 in the NFL in sacks. He was limited as a rest day. We'll see if he ends up playing. Kamani Vidal, running back, he was limited. And then some guys who did not participate, and these are all, for the most part, big names. Keenan Allen did not practice as a rest day. Amarian Hampton, who's technically listed as a second running back, but is their first-round pick at running back and has come back off IR. He was a DNP with an ankle. Derwin James, the all-pro safety who is as good as any defensive player in the league, in my opinion, and is one of the keys to their defense. He didn't practice with a rest day. Khalil Mack, DNP with a rest day. Jamari Sawyer, a starting tackle for them, did not practice with a hamstring. That list makes me think at least that some of the, and who knows, maybe it's all the guys on this report, maybe it's 4, 5, 6 guys, however many. It would surprise me if some of these guys play, and obviously that makes the task easier for the Broncos when you're not playing some of these really talented football players. But I think kind of it turns to what do you want to see from Denver, because Sean Payton has said the focus is on us, right? Not on what LA is doing. And I think if you're the Broncos, one, from like an offensive standpoint against this defense, you cannot turn the ball over, and takeaways continue to be a big message of protecting the football, taking the ball away on defense. If you can play clean football and convert on opportunities, convert in the red zone, which last week's game to me was not dissimilar to the game the Broncos played in Las Vegas. The difference was how often the Broncos converted in the red zone in Las Vegas versus in KC. They were just 2 of 4 in the red zone against the Chiefs, and that led to that game being maybe a little closer than you'd want. The turnover leads to it being closer than you want. If you can play clean football, be good in the red zone offensively, I like your chances. And again, if you are able to make the Chargers play on long fields, that's a big deal too defensively. And I think defensively, can you force those turnovers? Can you, Sean Payton said Monday, it's not really about sacks, it's about cage rushing.
Yeah.
That's important. But one of the things that really impressed me last year when you were in a very similar scenario and we'll see. Do the Chargers end up resting as many guys as the Chiefs did? Is it fewer guys? We'll see. But like the Broncos came out and immediately
Pulled away.
made a statement about what that game was going to be like, right? Like there was no – I went into that game thinking, well, like what if you get off to a slow start or there's an early turnover, there's a big play by the Chiefs and all of a sudden like you're trailing 14-10 at halftime. Like do you start to get a little anxious or nervous? And my hope is that being in that scenario last year with an opportunity to clinch gives the Broncos kind of this institutional knowledge of how do you handle a game like that. And it's not that different than when the Broncos go back to the playoffs. A lot of these guys can look at the game against Buffalo and say, okay, how do we need to play differently or like with a different level of energy than we did a year ago. But in that game against Kansas City, the Broncos scored touchdowns on the first 3 drives. They hold the Chiefs without points on the first 3 drives. 3 and out, missed field goal. And you're up 24-0 at halftime. And you kind of like you add on a couple touchdowns in the second half, but really you're not threatened. And in that game, looks like 4 3-and-outs, 5 3-and-outs. You stifled them defensively. And it would be nice to, because the thing about the NFL, Lisa, we know this, like they're playing backup players, it seems like, but they're still capable. And if you don't play clean football or you struggle early or you go 3-and-out or turn the ball over and Trey Lance, connects on a deep shot to somebody, you can put yourself in a game where, all of a sudden you're fighting to get this one. And so I'm really focused on, can the Broncos get out to a hot start and kind of put this one away early to make sure that none of that happens. Because otherwise, we saw it last week against KC, who had a good game plan and shortened the game and all that. But they had a chance at the end, and you'd like to find a way to not make that a reality this week.
Yeah, Denver's defense is allowing just 19.3 points per game, which is the 4th best mark in the NFL. And I know that this defense is hungry to really make another statement, because they've made statements all season long. But I know Nick Bonito has been adamant of like him wanting to, really step up his game up more. And he's like, I feel like I want to play better. I want to do this, one of that. Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, they all kind of have that same sentiment of like, every game we want to go out there and make a statement, because as you know and as we've seen, the NFL is very much what have you done lately, right? Because there's so many good teams this year in particular. There's so many teams that are above 10 wins that are still in the wild card or still in the hunt, and it's really interesting to see how the NFC and the AFC have been playing out in that way. But I think for this defense to come out against Trey Lance, make an impact, as you mentioned, get pressure on them early, those 3-and-outs, limit the 3rd down conversions. I think it's going to play a very big impact on this game. And I think when you see the defense kind of having that kind of success, that trickles down to the offense. Because then at that point, you're playing a little more free. You're having a little more fun. And that's when you're able to really pull away. Because I remember in that Chiefs game, you had everyone kind of scoring in different ways. They were smiling, like the crowd was going nuts. And it's just fun. Obviously not for the other team, but it's fun for the home team. And I think the Broncos, as you mentioned, they have that and they know this can go bad if we don't handle business early, or it can be really fun if we just take care of things and pull away. And fun fact, Thule is actually cousins with Talanoa Havunga.
Yeah, I knew that. That's exciting.
He was talking about in the locker room.
A couple of cousins in the NFL.
Yeah, and then Tule's brother, I believe, plays for the Eagles. But they were talking about it, and Huff mentioned he didn't go into whether he was going to play or not, but he just mentioned like he's one of those guys that can be a game changer. And they asked him, how do you know? And he's like, well, he trained with me, so I know. But, it's one of those things where it's like you don't know whose game it's going to be, but you don't want to give an opportunity for someone to have a career day on you.
Yeah, I think it's again, like the focus is internal. And the Broncos have proven all year long that they're capable of winning games at home, and they can especially offensively, they've surged lately, I feel like. And so if they are ready to go, then they've got a chance to put themselves in a really good spot. And it doesn't guarantee anything for sure. But the reason why this feels so important is because you've got an opportunity here to clinch that home field advantage, clinch that bye, put yourself in a spot where you're just 2 home games away from the Super Bowl. And Sean Payton almost kind of made it a challenge to the fans of like, if you want 2 more home games, be loud this Sunday. Help us get this win because it really could. The margins in the postseason are so small. This could be the difference between whether the Broncos get to Santa Clara or not. Are you playing New England? Are you playing Jacksonville? Are you playing Houston? Are you playing the AFC North winner? Are you playing Buffalo or LA? Like, are you playing one of those teams at home, or do you have to go on the road? And the fact that you've got a chance to handle business on your own and you don't need anybody else to do anything, and you get maybe a little bit of an added edge of playing some reserve players, it's all right there for you to set up a playoff run. Now you just got to go take care of business and do it.
Postseason crowds are definitely different. And one thing that head coach Champagne also mentioned was this city deserves opportunity to host a playoff game. It's been a long time, and it's almost like I can't wait for them to rise to the challenge of being extra loud, extra, enthusiastic. I think, again, one of my favorite, as we're ending this episode of Altitude Advantage, another highlight that's not necessarily on the field, I really enjoyed the card stunt at the beginning of the game, the orange wall that, we've created at home games. That's probably one of the highlights from a stadium perspective for this season. It's so cool. One of my favorite images that our studio team captured was from the preseason game against the Cardinals. You have a single Cardinals player standing on the field, and the angle of the shot, you just see this orange wall just kind of coming at you over and over again. That really kind of set the tone for what this fan base has been able to do this season. So I know they're going to show up loud, show up proud for this Week 18 matchup on Sunday. Kickoff is set for 2:25 p.m. Mountain Time. So Broncos country, once again, we're going to need you there early. We need you to get louder sooner, and remember to disrupt their huddle. And that will do it for this edition of Altitude Advantage. We appreciate you guys listening and all your comments and all your support that you've given to the show all season long. We're going to keep this thing going. So once again, make sure you guys head over to denverbroncos.com for all the latest. Check out a brand new episode of Broncos HQ that will be dropping soon. And share this podcast with your friends. We need new listeners too, right?
That's right.
So once again, I am your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez, born in the year of the horse. Across the table, we have our lead writer on denverbroncos.com, Aric DiLalla, born in the year of the dog. We all got that dog in us, though. So we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you at the game.